What is a sentence? A sentence is a group of words that forms a complete thought. It cannot have just part of a thought. A sentence begins with a capital letter, ends with an end mark, and has a subject and a predicate. Basically, a sentence is a group of words that contains one, a subject, which is who or what the sentence is about or the topic of the sentence, and two, a predicate, everything that is said about the subject. Here's a simple example. Here's our sentence. It has a subject and a predicate. The predicate contains a verb and everything else that is said about the subject. So we have you speak English. Larry drives fast. Mrs. Smith is a teacher. My friend lives in an apartment. The above example sentences are very short. Of course, a sentence can be much longer and more complicated, but basically, there is always a subject and a predicate. And remember that the predicate always contains the verb. Let's look at some longer examples. Here's our sentence. It has a subject and a predicate, and the predicate contains the verb and everything else. So we can have Ram and Tara speak English when they're working. Living in Canada is very different to living in China. My two dogs love playing in the yard and sleeping on the couch. His grandmother and her friends travel to Australia every year for a 3-month vacation. Notice that the predicate always contains a verb. Sometimes, in fact, the predicate is only a verb, as in the sentences below. Again, here's our sentence. It has a subject and a predicate. The predicate is the verb only. Smoke rises. Dogs bark. Jenny sings. Everyone eats. So we can say that a sentence must contain at least a subject and a verb, or one subject and one verb. It can have more, but this is the smallest things that it must have. There is one real exception to this, and that's the imperative. When someone gives a command, the imperative, they usually do not use a subject. They don't say the subject because it's obvious. The subject is always you. Look at these examples of the imperative, with and without a subject. Here's our sentence, subject with predicate, and the predicate contains the verb and anything else. So we might have stop, okay, or wait a minute. These things don't have a subject that we say, but we understand that the subject is you. Okay? You can put the subject, and sometimes people do, as in, you look, you come here. But most of the time we would just say, look, come here. Okay? Note that a sentence expresses a complete thought. Here are some examples of complete and incomplete thoughts. Okay? So we have sentences. He opened the door. Is it a complete thought? Yes. Come in, please. Remember, we don't see the subject here, but we understand the subject is you, and so this is a complete thought. Do you like coffee? Again, it's a complete thought. Okay? Things that are not sentences, and thus are not complete thoughts, are things like people who work hard. Okay? We don't have any more information about these people, so it's not a complete thought. Because I am a student. Again, there's no more information. What's important because you're a student? We don't know, so this is not a complete thought. A fast-moving animal with big ears. Well, that sounds exciting, but tell me more about the animal. Okay? Is it doing something? Has somebody done something to it? We don't know, So this is not a complete thought. Notice also that a sentence begins with a capital or big letter and ends with a period, also called a full stop, or a question mark, or an exclamation mark. Look at these examples. People need food. Capital letter, period. How are you? Capital letter, question mark. Look out! Capital letter, exclamation mark. So, that's an introduction to what makes a basic sentence. Study this information because it will make your English learning much easier.